Welcome in, welcome back, welcome to Stream of Unconsciousness, where the subject's made up and the words don't matter. As threatened last week, I actually did get my hands on a Hasbro version of the 6-inch Indiana Jones, and I thought I would do a little comparison between that and the Figuarts version. I do have to apologize slightly for some of my comments in the previous video. In hand, the Hasbro Indy is actually not that bad, which is interesting that they had a professional photographer take action photos of this particular toy and still have it look as bad as it did in those pictures. That is quite bizarre for a company to release pictures that did not show the toy at its best for people to want to purchase. Again, this is a much more toyetic version, and it is quite a bit cheaper than the Figuarts version. The portrait's actually not bad. As you can see, the scale-wise, the Figuarts version is much more proportional to realistic human being proportions. The whole thing just works better. The face fits with the hat better. Although the hat on the Hasbro version is, I don't know why every picture that I saw of people selling these and playing with these, the hat looked like it was always weirdly torqued. It's not. I think part of the reason may be the highlighting that they used. They chose a very pinkish orange color for all of the distressed sections on the jacket and on the brim of the hat, which I think throws pictures off. That's the only thing I can figure is why it would look like that. But the portrait itself, well, again, the painting is more toy-esque, is actually not a bad portrait. A little repaint could probably bring out the best in that sculpt. The hat's not bad. It is a little bit oversized. I'm not talking about the height of the crown. If you look at the hat that Harrison Ford wore in Raiders, the crown is actually quite tall, and it does have the way he wore the hat. It does have the dip in the brim on his right hand side like that, rather than exactly in the front. So that's a good detail. It's just a tiny bit large for the size of his face, I think, but the face isn't bad. I think one of the things I objected to the most in looking at those pictures was he always looked like he was very narrow-shouldered with droopy arms. Part of that is the way the jacket rides up, although his shoulders are a tiny bit narrow, but also the way the jacket flares out over the equipment on his belt does lend to that perception. But again, compared to the more in scale, more proportional Figuarts version, he does have appear to have a little bit of a narrow droop shoulder problem. Again, the Figuarts version, the holster is not, you're not able to open that. I think you can remove it from the belt, but I wouldn't bother. But it's more, because it doesn't have to open, it's more proportional to the belt. Whereas the Hasbro version, you can actually put the pistol in, and this is a softer plastic, so you're not immediately, cranking harder plastic into areas where it's going to get brittle and snap. I mean, eventually it's probably going to be that way, but this whole piece comes undone, and it's a huge pain in the ass to get back in there. But as you can see, the flap opens, the pistol's in there. It works reasonably well. I mean, it still looks very toy-esque. The left-hand side of his belt has the loop for his whip, which is very, very. I have yet to be able to get that to go into the hole in the belt and stay, which is part of the reason why he doesn't have the whip on his belt. Also, this particular one I bought on the secondary market, so I do have the longer free whip for him to pose with. I do not have the coiled whip to go on his belt. But overall, I mean, the figure is not bad. As I said before, without having them to compare, the Figuarts version has an ab crunch, which the Hasbro version does not. The Hasbro version has thigh cuts, which I don't honestly particularly care for. I think that the sculpted pants on the Figuarts version are more realistic. I prefer the jacket. I prefer the colors of the hat and the jacket on the Figuarts version. Overall paint on the Figuarts version is obviously much better. This also did have, when I received it, did have a problem with a lot of modern action figures with the amount of articulation and the size of the articulation, because we have so much articulation in modern action figures, especially the 3 3/4 inch ones that did not exist, when these sizes first started. And as can happen with a lot of these, the joint on his left ankle was frozen. Every time I tried to move it, it looked like it was going to break the pin inside off, so he would not stand on his own. Fixed that with a hairdryer, and that's not a particular complaint about this figure. That's just something you have to deal with modern action figures, unfortunately. He also does have removable hands. The peg inside, the hands being slightly larger than the Figuarts version, the pegs are slightly larger. Comes with a number of replacement hands, fists, slightly open hands. Like this one. It came with it. And he also comes with a version of the idol. Again, this is a much cheaper version, so the gold is, it's not, I mean, it's clearly a gold idol, but does that look like real gold? It does not. But, the sculpting is a little bit soft on it as well. Overall, again, I prefer the Figuarts version. I think it's a better figure, but it's also a much higher price point. I would say, against what I said in my previous video, that this actually, this is not a bad figure. The pictures that I have seen, the professional pictures that Hasbro took to display this toy, do not do it justice. And like I said, the hat always looks weird. And I think that maybe partially due to the color and partially due to the odd choice of color for the weathering. I happened to pick this up myself on the secondary market for much cheaper than it was initially selling for. So I'm really happy with it. One thing I do find interesting is as I said with the Figuarts version, the shoulder bag was included, but not on the figure. So you basically had to remove the arms and part of the jacket shell, or an arm and part of the jacket shell to get the bag on. So it hangs there over his bullwhip, which I don't have a problem with. This was designed and created with the shoulder bag already in place, which means it's sort of sculpted to fit over his butt, basically, which keeps it out of the way of the bullwhip accessory, but also makes the size of the accessories here make the bottom of the jacket flare out a little weirdly, which adds to the narrow shoulder look. So I would say it's not, if you're looking for something, if you like 6-inch and you like Indiana Jones, this is not a bad figure to add to your collection. Again, my preference is the Figuarts one, but again, that's a higher price point. If you can pick these up, on eBay for at costs that they were in the stores at the time sometimes, or even cheaper. Like I said, I got this one a little bit cheaper than that. For those people who like to mod their figures, this probably is something that would be very acceptable for a repaint. I think a repaint of the face, maybe the jacket, maybe the hat, would really make some of this pop more. But again, it's obviously a toy. Well, they're all obviously toys, but it's come back to Jamaica anyway. Sorry for those of if you're not Gen X, that won't make any sense to you at all. Anyway, this is not a bad figure comparatively. Again, it's much better in hand than I had expected from the pictures online that I had seen. So, if you like these, I would say that this is probably, if you're into Indiana Jones at all, and I don't know if you can tell, but I am a bit. I would say that this is not a bad figure to pick up after actually having one and being able to look at it in hand and examine it, mess around with it. Again, the soft holster that holds the pistol, which is slightly over large, is a little bit of a pain to get closed, which I'm probably not going to be able to do here on camera. Or maybe I am. No, I'm not. So, yeah, it's kind of a pain to get closed. And this particular piece that would hold the bullwhip in place, it's not either not designed well or just didn't, when they mass produced it, it didn't get molded well, because it doesn't really. Again, I have yet to get it to get in there and stay, and that's even without the bullwhip in it. So, so there you have it, Figuarts versus Hasbro. I don't regret either figure. I think they're both good at this point. Obviously, I prefer Figuarts version. But yeah, I would say if you like Indiana Jones and you want a 6-inch figure at a lower price point, and you can find them still at that lower price point, this is not a bad figure to add to your collection. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, or even if you didn't, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment, leave a complaint. I'll respond. Generally, I don't get enough comments to not respond to people. So let me know what you think, and we will talk to you next time.